Hello, I'm Richard Jack Smith of Real Talk Movie Reviews. The Bourne Identity stars Matt Damon, and while it was the first in a series of films, it remains perhaps the most distinctive, at least musically, with the latest Tumescent Edition. That's a rather strange one, I'll come to that shortly. We have nearly a whole CD's worth of music. Is it good? Is it mediocre? I'll come to that shortly. I like the Bourne films, especially the Bourne Ultimatum, which was probably the high point in the series. Interestingly, like Mad Max Fury Road, it got Oscars, which none of the previous films had achieved. But I digress. The Bourne Identity was really the introduction to the character, and what caught my attention immediately in the description, the press release for the Bourne Identity, the Tumescent Edition, was that there's a use of solo bassoon. Now, the bassoon happens to be one of, if not my favourite instruments. I love the use of, in things like John Williams' The Five Sacred Trees, Vivaldi's concertos, many examples. And it's a very distinctive, characteristic type of sound that you get from this instrument. And so when we see Jason Bourne in the water at the beginning, you got that da 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 da, and that's very haunting, and I think works quite well. This is a score that was very much on the techno side, so there's a lot of electronics. It works especially well in Activation, which is one of the more invigorating pieces. The chase music for the car sequence in the middle of the film, or just coming up to the middle of the film, is not featured on this because it wasn't composed by John Powell. I think overall, as an experience, it's quite solid. I didn't find any dead spots. Yes, it has those short repeating figures that are very characteristic of the Media Ventures remote control Hans Zimmer sound. Powell came off of that assembly line of composers and has made a name for himself quite well. Regarding the actual description of the music, you can see on the side there it says Tumescent Edition rather than saying the Deluxe Edition. I looked up the word tumescent because it's not used that often. I don't see it used that often, even in classical books. It means pompous, pretentious, or swollen, which is kind of an odd description. I think they were just trying to be clever with that one, and it didn't quite come off. I would have just called it the Deluxe Edition. But be that as it may. So apart from the solo bassoon in the beginning, which establishes a very kind of lonely mood and sets things up in a very much in an in medias res type of way, in the middle of something, we have to run to catch up to find out what's happening. Very effective. I think the electronics are handled extremely well. They're balanced with the strings nicely. John Powell develops a very atmospheric, pacey and stylistic approach for the Bourne Identity, which, when combined with certain subtext of the government, Big Brother, keeping an eye on Bourne, and that kind of cold, almost mechanised feeling that comes from these overseers, if you like, or overwatchers. It's contrasting that with the kind of nascent humanity of Jason Bourne, played by Matt Damon, and how he wants to remember his past and confront whatever realities that might present. Powell delves into these things with a very light touch. His use of counterpoint, tone, and again pacing are quite splendid. I enjoyed this score, and I was not expecting to. I think the bassoon was a minor element. It's not necessarily the thing that's going to sell people on this experience. It's just something that works. It was going to be electric guitar for that particular idea, but he settled on bassoon, which was quite wise, I think. There's a pacing as well as a vibe which I think people are going to gravitate towards with this, and it definitely enhances what went before, because this music has been released. It was released along with the film back in 2002. Not a bad assembly as it goes, but this definitely deepens the experience and enhances the experience, I would say. Overall, I would give the Bourne Identity by John Powell 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed my time with it, and I think I'll be coming back to it again in the future, maybe sooner than I think. For more film and soundtrack reviews, please visit Betty Jo Tucker's website, Real Talk Movie Reviews. On Facebook you can find my pages, Hip-Notic Movie Reviews and Hip-Notic Soundtrack Reviews. I am Richard Jack Smith, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.